the latest breaking news on Iran and the decisions that President Trump must make. Via Caroline Leavitt, he announced that he would give 2 weeks, potentially, to Iran to come to the negotiating table. That news just coming down the last 30 minutes or so. Here's my analysis in general of this. And Trump, obviously, for much of his life, has been a professional negotiator, so I'm sure he is analyzing this in his own way as well. How can you trust Iran in any way not to do what is in their best interests? Let me explain what I mean by that. Kim Jong-un has nuclear weapons in North Korea. It would be far better if he did not have nuclear weapons in North Korea, but his decision to get them, while he may be a crazy despot, was eminently rational. And that decision was based on this. Once you have nuclear weapons, the ability of any other country, given the risk that it would entail, to ever overthrow you is minimal. So if your goal is to maintain power above all else, the lesson of Kim Jong-un is actually a good one from a negotiating perspective. And it is this. People who are tyrants can still behave rationally when it comes to obtaining the best possible weapons, which allow their tyranny to continue. Why would Iran give up the pursuit of nuclear weapons when the pursuit of nuclear weapons guarantees that the people in control of Iran, the authoritarian mullah dictators, will remain in control forever? That's the ultimate question that I can't get past. And if I'm missing something, you can call in, you can give me a talk back, you can explain the negotiating lever here that I am missing. 800-282-2882. 80% of Americans say we don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. That's huge majorities of Democrats, Republicans, and independents. It is actually a bipartisan agreement by and large. If you are in that 80%, which I am, I don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. I think it makes the world less safe. I think it makes us less safe. I think it makes a disastrous world war predicated on nuclear weapon exchange of fire far more likely. So I'm in that 80%. I would imagine most of the rest of you are. Now, for the 20% of you, I don't even know what you're thinking. How do you not care if Iran gets nuclear weapons? Oh, I don't care if a crazy religious despot has the ability to push a button and kill tens of millions of people. The only thing I can think of those 20% that are adopting that perspective, that's 20% of Democrats, 20% of Republicans, 20% of independents, is you don't believe that Iran is actually trying to get nuclear weapons. Because the idea of, hey, I don't care if Iran has nuclear weapons, that doesn't make sense to me because it's not a rational decision. Now, maybe I'm missing something. You can make the argument for what I'm missing. Oh, I don't care if Iran blows up Israel, Clay. That seems like a bad decision because Israel has nuclear weapons. And if Iran fires nuclear weapons at Israel, then Israel's definitely going to fire nuclear weapons at Iran. And for those of you out there who say, well, Iran would never use them. Well, are you really willing to risk that? These are people who want to destroy America, who chant death to America at every opportunity, who consider us to be the great Satan. I don't think they're lying about that. I don't think they're that fond of us, meaning the leadership. I think the individual citizens of Iran, many of whom are young, are actually quite fond of America and the West and like our music and like our movies and all those things. That's a different story. That's why I think if the Ayatollahs were removed, that we might well end up with far better leadership in Iran. And frankly, I don't think we would end up with worse leadership because I don't think we could have a worse situation in Iran than what we have right now. So if you believe, as I do, that it is eminently rational, even for a crazy regime that is committed to religious fundamentalism of a Muslim nature, right? These are people that would be very, very happy to foment as many terror attacks in the United States and Israel and any other Western civilization around the world as they could pull off. That's what they tried to fund with Hamas and Hezbollah in Syria. That's what they've spent generations attempting to do. They are happy to kill as many Americans as they could and would gladly do so if they believe they could get away with it. So, why are negotiations going to work? This is where I come back to my antibiotic analogy that I made a couple of years ago. If you start to take antibiotics for an infection and then you stop before you have killed the infection, you actually make the infection stronger in your body. Because going a third of the way or half the way towards eliminating the infection, when you don't completely eliminate it, allows the infection to grow back stronger than it otherwise would. That feels to me like what is likely to happen in Iran. And so you have to come back in 10 years or 12 years or 20 years, even heavier than you did right now. And maybe you don't have that same opportunity in the future because right now there is no aerial defense. The cost to doing things to Iran is virtually negligible. Hamas is down, Hezbollah is down, Syria is down. Iran has never been weaker. Right now is the time to kill the virus once and for all, in my opinion. And if you told me, hey, there's a new regime that's taking over in Iran, we can trust them more, I may or may not believe that. But that would at least be a sign that things might have changed. But how can you trust the Ayatollah Khomeini? How can you trust anyone affiliated with this authoritarian government in Iran based on their history since 1979? You know, in Syria, we're basically rolling the dice and saying, hey, this new leadership, we hope it's going to be better than Assad. We're going to try to give them the space to create a safer, more democratic, human rights, at least better in Syria than what has been in the past. So I don't know how that's going to go, but someone new who you don't have a past history with, things could go better. Trump is a fabulous negotiator. He has done all sorts of deals. I have to believe that in the back of his mind, he is thinking exactly what I am telling you right now, which is it's in their self-interest to get nuclear weapons. Right now, they might claim to you that they're going to give up that pursuit, but when it is in the interest of Iran's leaders to have nuclear weapons, and when they have consistently lied to us, they lied to Obama, they've lied to the globe, why in the world would you expect that suddenly they're going to say, oh, you know what, we're going to give up our pursuit of nuclear weapons? Doesn't make sense to me. Now, Trump, in putting out that 2 weeks, could be doing what Trump was doing last week, which is they basically covered up the fact that Israel was about to go all in, and they knew it. And so maybe that is part of what's taking place right now, that he's trying to lull the Iranian regime into sleep, thinking, oh, we have 2 weeks to make decisions, when in reality, in 2 days, he's going to rain down holy hell on them. That's my only analysis. And I'm open to the idea that I'm always open to the idea that I'm missing something, or there's an angle of this dispute or this negotiation that is more that I'm missing, but I don't think I am. We got a group that's been in power since 1979. That's my entire life. I'm not a young man. 46 years, the Ayatollah and his compatriots have been in charge of Iran. We've got a 46-year history that they hate America and are untrustworthy. Why do I trust them now when they're clinging on to power by their fingertips, that they're suddenly going to say, oh, you know what, that 46-year history, yeah, we're going to disavow that. We're going to be good, trustworthy negotiating partners from here on henceforth. I just don't buy it. It doesn't add up logically. And so I think the only option Trump has is, look, he could say, hey, I'm not going to give you the big bunker buster. Iran, Israel, send in your special forces and take over that nuclear site with boots on the ground with your elite troops. You guys just take care of this. We'll give you air cover. You have the ability now to do it. We've taken over the skies around Tehran and all over the country. Go in and do it boots on the ground style. instead of this big bunker buster bomb getting us directly involved. Hey, Israel, this is your battle. You're the ones taking out these nuclear armaments. You go ahead and do it. You know what I'd do if I'm Israel, though? Again, you got to think about the decisions that they have to make rationally. The leadership, they're analyzing, they're seeing all this information, all these data. I would take out the Ayatollah. Iran knows better than anybody that this guy can't be trusted. And yes, it is a significant step to take out the leader of a foreign country. I understand. But if I'm Netanyahu, what is Netanyahu, 75 years old? Since he was, live math and me is bad. For the last nearly half century, since he was like 29 years old, 30 years old, he's been dealing with the lies coming out of Iran. He's 75. If I were Netanyahu, I'd take out the Ayatollahs rationally based on his desires and based on my 46-year history of not being able to trust anything they would do. Now, the challenge is, what does Trump say there? If I'm Netanyahu, I just go do it. I mean, the United States can say we weren't involved. That was an Israeli decision. That was an Israeli operation. But I think I would go ahead and take him out, because I don't think you could end up with a worse situation of leadership than what happens than what they have right now. Now, maybe there's a group inside of Iran that Israel could allow to rise up. It would be better if Iran had their Ayatollah thrown over by Iranians, if it were Iranian citizens themselves who rose up to depose their leadership. But I think the Ayatollah has such power in the country that's unlikely. I would also bet that they have got him hidden in such a way, even though Trump sent a message yesterday saying we know where you are. I would also bet they've got him hidden in such a way that actually advancing on them with boots on the ground military is incredibly challenging to do, maybe impossible. And so those are sort of the larger strategic analysis that I would be working through in my mind. Now, you can tell me if I missed something. 800-282-2882. Also ask Joey Jones what he thinks should happen at the bottom of the hour. In the meantime, for everybody out there, maybe you're like me and you got teenagers. Maybe you even have teenagers in your house who sometimes are avoiding their curfew and they're sneaking in and out of the house, and maybe occasionally they set off the alarm in the house, and you wake up and you think, okay, that's probably not somebody who is trying to do harm to my family. That's probably just one of my knucklehead kids or grandkids. But you still want to protect yourself, but you don't want to do it with lethal force. What would you use? How about the pepper spray launcher from Sabre? It is amazing. Great example, shaped like a pistol or a rifle, but it fires off a pepper gel projectile, targeted, goes a longer distance than you might think, and trust me, it's going to protect you. People are going to run in the opposite direction from this, but it doesn't have the lethality that a gun would. So if you're not sure who's coming in your house, but you're not convinced it's pure danger, it makes a lot of sense. That's the reason we have it in our house as one of the options depending on what's going on. But they got all sorts of stuff. You got kids off away at college, granddaughters. Maybe you want a pepper spray launcher on a keychain where she's going into a parking garage late at night, or maybe she's got a job, or she's got class, or she's coming and going at hours that would potentially put her in peril. What a great gift this would be. SaberRadio.com. Check it out. It's a family-owned business. They got all sorts of alarms you can put on your doors, bars, all these things. We got basically every product that they offer in the Travis household, and you can save 15% right now if you go online to SaberRadio.com. That's SaberRadio.com, SaberRadio.com. You can also call 844-824-SAFE. That's 844-824-SAFE. But just check it out. Great gifts. SaberRadio.com for people that you care about in your family and also for your own family. That's SaberRadio.com, SaberRadio.com.